The war had raged for decades across the spiral arms, swallowing planets whole and grinding civilizations into dust. Among the wreckage of peace stood the United Allied Races, a coalition of species bound by necessity and fear. Their common enemy wasn't monstrous in appearance or overwhelmingly numerous. It was humanity, a species that adapted too fast, struck too hard, and refused to die quietly. From the shadows of countless battlefields, a name had risen through whispered alien tongues: Ghost Eye. No visual records, no confirmed identification, just charred ruins and corpses bearing clean, almost surgical kill marks. Where entire platoons vanished without a trace, the name surfaced like an accusation. UAR Command couldn't ignore it anymore. They needed someone exceptional, someone engineered for death. Vorga 6 was more machine than flesh, a Kragari executioner bred in gravity wells and sculpted through surgical evolution. His blood had long been replaced by coolant and nanoserum. He remembered his first kill only as a data file, a blur of screams and torn carbon fiber limbs. He didn't need reasons. He needed coordinates. This time, they led him to a mining colony on Arkan 7. The planet had died years ago, its core cracked and leaking methane geysers like a wounded beast. The surface was coated in industrial fog, thick enough to obscure scanners. Perfect for a sniper. Vorga's ship, a needle-shaped stealth craft, pierced the atmosphere in silence. He disembarked alone, feet crunching on fractured alloy and soot. As his HUD adjusted to the murk, he scanned for life. Nothing. No heat blooms. No motion. Just silent ruins and broken transport lines. Yet his instincts, honed through centuries of war, prickled. Ghost Eye was here. He moved through the terrain methodically. The sniper wouldn't be in a tower or high ground, too obvious. No, he'd be buried in plain sight, among the debris, masked by silence and calculation. Vorga's right optic adjusted to high-frequency thermal, the left to EM scatter. Still nothing. Either the sniper was masking heat, or he was being watched. A broken loader lay tipped against a ridge. Vorga crouched, senses twitching. His targeting matrix flickered, then stabilized. A misread? He scanned again, deeper this time, and noticed something odd: fragments of shrapnel arranged unnaturally, as if placed deliberately. A warning, or a test. He stepped forward and froze. A faint metallic click echoed, then silence. The next moment, pain surged through his shoulder as his right servomotor sparked violently. The arm dropped limp, disabled. No impact was registered. No projectile on radar. Just a sudden failure. He rolled into cover behind a fractured wall. His systems diagnosed the failure. A hypersonic microprojectile had pierced the actuator joint. Impossible to react to. Not a kill shot, but a precision disablement. A message. Clever, he muttered in his native dialect, voice layered in distortion. But not final. He stood, exposing himself deliberately. "I know you're watching," he called out. His voice carried smoothly through the ruin. "You've been busy. But I'm not like the others." Silence. Then, a voice, calm and smooth, came through an open comm channel on his HUD. "Neither am I." Vorga's HUD flickered as the channel closed. No trace of origin. He crouched again, activating his own counter-sniper protocols, but knew they were ineffective. This wasn't just skill, this was mastery. Someone who had studied his prey longer than he had prepared for war. He remembered the report. The sniper had taken out an entire UAR forward division in 20 minutes without being seen. Ships had combed the area for days and found only gear fragments and empty shells. Not a drop of blood. Vorga began moving again, cautious now, scanning for more traps. He ducked under a collapsed platform and reached an overlook. Below was a crater, formed by an explosion too clean to be accidental. At its center, a tripod remained, the kind human snipers used for stability during long exposure. He stepped into the clearing. A soft buzz triggered behind him. He spun, too late. A tiny drone zipped past, no bigger than a bird, and embedded itself into his suit's comm module. It burst in a puff of static. Communications disabled. Isolation complete. Vorga growled low, accessing internal logs. This human wasn't just sniping from a distance. He was hunting with theater, with purpose. This was psychological warfare. The assassin turned slowly, surveying the area. Your fear tactics won't work, he muttered. I was designed without fear. Another voice, different this time, closer, broke the silence. Good. Then this won't take long. Vorga pivoted toward the voice's origin, pulse rifles rising, targeting lines searching. Nothing. Then a sound, a brief chirp of static and air displacement. He turned again, too slow. A red dot settled on his chest. He froze, instincts clashing with programming. He couldn't see the shooter. Couldn't smell him, sense him, even with military-grade augments. But he was there. Close. Mocking. Do you even know why you're here? The voice asked, steady, unhurried. Vorga narrowed his glowing eyes. To end the myth. To kill the ghost. A soft laugh. Not cruel. Not amused. Just human. You're late, said the voice. Then silence again. No shot. No motion. The dot vanished. Vorga stood alone in the mist, his systems screaming warnings, unable to locate the source. For the first time in centuries, his logic processor stalled, not because of physical damage, but uncertainty. He was being studied, measured, and not yet found worthy of death. He stepped backward into the fog, more slowly now. The war wasn't over, but the game had already begun. The fog swallowed the ruins whole, a smothering curtain that dulled sound and bent light. Vorga 6 moved like a phantom through it, methodical despite the short-circuited servomotor in his right arm. His internal stabilizers compensated, recalibrating with each step. The encounter had shifted from a kill mission to something far more complex. The sniper hadn't just avoided him, he had controlled the engagement entirely. That single, precise disabling shot hadn't come from panic or instinct. It was discipline, calculation, a message. He no longer hunted prey. He was the hunted. Still, he was not deterred. Vorga had exterminated entire species. He had waged war on worlds that cracked beneath orbital barrages. This human was exceptional, yes. But exceptional didn't mean invincible. He activated his jump thrusts, launching skyward in a burst of heat and propulsion. Altitude would reveal topography and potential sniper lines. From above, the terrain sprawled in grey ruin, fractured domes, split towers, tangled pipeways like skeletal remains. His visor paused hundreds of potential vantage points in milliseconds. But something was off. There were no elevated nests. No heat trails. No motion shadows. The sniper wasn't just hiding. He was manipulating perception. A warning alert flicked in the lower corner of his HUD, brief magnetic disruption. Vorga twisted in midair, pulse rifles drawn. The first shot hit. Not him. His jump gear sputtered, one of the propulsion modules disabled by a subsonic round. The second shot followed a heartbeat later, striking center mass, non-lethal, but enough force to shatter the armor plating. The third embedded into the exosuit's spinal segment, severing command relays to his lower limbs. He crashed hard, the ground groaning beneath his weight. A crater spread around his frame, smoke curling upward. 3 shots. 3 seconds. And Vorga 6, the most advanced executioner in the UAR, lay paralyzed. The fog parted slightly as footsteps approached, slow, unhurried. A figure emerged, lean and wrapped in adaptive camouflage that shimmered as he moved. He carried no visible rifle now, just a compact sidearm holstered at his thigh and a long-barreled weapon folded and secured across his back. The man knelt beside Vorga, visor glinting under a flicker of sun through the clouds. "You fell fast," he said, his voice calm, conversational. "Guess the myths were exaggerated." Vorga's eyes twitched. He attempted a vocal command, but only static emerged. The neural damage was spreading faster than projected. "You're probably wondering why I didn't kill you immediately," the sniper continued. "Most of you don't get to ask questions." He tapped a small scanner against Vorga's chest. A light blinked. The device chirped. "You're carrying data," he murmured. "That's the only reason you're still breathing." The scanner injected a needle, extracting the implant buried under the Kragari's armor. Vorga growled, more from rage than pain. "Relax," the sniper said. "This isn't personal." He stood, the fog curling around him like obedient smoke. "But it is necessary." Vorga's systems failed entirely moments later. His artificial heart stilled. His optics dimmed. What was left of his mind watched the human walk away without looking back. The sniper, Wraith, activated his comm implant. A soft chime sounded in his inner ear. "Command, package retrieved. Vorga 6 neutralized. Data secure." A voice responded, encrypted and clipped. "Confirm 0 visual exposure. No witnesses. Clean extraction. Proceeding to secondary objective. Copy. Upload mission log upon arrival." He terminated the call and slipped into the ruins. His rifle unfolded in seconds, locking into place without a sound. He didn't need it for now, but he felt better with it ready. The exosuit he wore bore no insignia, no reflective surfaces, nothing that would mark him as human from a distance. Only those who got too close would know, and they never lived long enough to report it. He passed the crater again, now silent. Vorga's body remained untouched. Let the UAR find it. Let them study it. Let them wonder how their best had died before he fired a shot. The fear would spread faster than any report. He paused at a terminal buried under rubble and connected the data chip. It blinked alive, revealing coordinates and a list of names: Terran agents, rogue operatives, UAR defectors. Someone had been hunting both sides, consolidating information for leverage. One name was marked red. A former human intelligence officer, now believed dead. Last known location, orbiting EOS station. Wraith's fingers tightened. The sniper's job wasn't finished. But for now, he allowed himself a moment of stillness. The wind moved through the wreckage, lifting ash and dust. Another name had been silenced. Another myth laid to rest. Yet the true war, the one fought in the silence between battles, was far from over. EOS station rotated slowly above the blue swirl of Varela Prime, its exterior scarred by micrometeoroids and decades of intermittent maintenance. On paper, it was a refueling hub for diplomatic vessels and deep space freighters. In practice, it served as a den for ghosts, spies, deserters, data brokers, and those who preferred life in orbit over the scrutiny of planetary law. The perfect place for a dead man to disappear. Wraith approached in a civilian freighter registered under a false identity. His biometric profile had already been altered, no retinal signatures, no vocal traces, no link to Earth's military archives. He docked at Bay 12 and stepped into the station's dim-lit concourse with the casual posture of a tired trader. His gear was sealed in a transport case slung over one shoulder. Inside was the rifle that had ended a legend and a knife that hadn't seen use in 5 missions. He hoped it wouldn't see use today. His target had once been Lieutenant Marek Duval, a tactical strategist who'd gone off-grid after leaking classified Terran uplink codes. Thought dead after a shuttle detonation in the rings of Harkon, Duval had reappeared in ghost records, bartering intelligence across factions, trading secrets for silence. Now his name had surfaced on the data chip Vorga had carried. Not just a former officer. A supplier. Possibly a handler. Wraith scanned the corridor. EOS station was old enough to creak. Panels flickered overhead, and condensation leaked from vents like veins of sweat. Smells of oil, synth alcohol, and recycled oxygen mingled. He passed a row of mercenaries gathered around a betting table and kept walking, eyes locked on the access node that would lead him to Deck 7, administrative quarters long since repurposed into private chambers and information dens. He took the stairs. Lifts were too traceable. Each floor deepened the silence. Fewer people, more cameras, fewer exits. Outside room 7F, he paused. His scanner detected an active signal disruptor inside, low level, enough to block casual snooping, but not military grade. That meant Duval wasn't expecting a soldier. He was expecting a client. Wraith knocked once. A delay. Then a voice, gravelly, aged. "You're early." "I brought payment," Wraith said. "And a question." The door slid open. Marek Duval looked nothing like the war files. He was gaunt, bald, one eye replaced with a dull silver implant. His left arm was cybernetic to the elbow, twitching slightly as if resisting a command that never came. He gestured Wraith inside without a word. The chamber was small, bare walls, a single cot, and an old table with a hollow projector. Data chips were scattered across it like bones. No weapons visible. No sign of panic. "You're not a client," Duval said, sitting slowly. "You're cleaner grade. I've seen your kind before." "You've never seen me," Wraith replied, setting the transport case down. Duval smirked. "True enough. Which means I'm not dead yet." "Why?" "You were in contact with Vorga 6. Duval raised an eyebrow. "I was in contact with half the galaxy. Vorga paid well. Wanted data on a particular unit. Sniper Division, Earthborn. He asked about you, I think. Not by name. Just patterns." Wraith said nothing. "I gave him noise. Partial truths. That's the deal here. Sell just enough to stay useful, never enough to become a target." "You failed." Duval's smirk faltered. He leaned forward. "If you came to erase me, why ask questions?" "Because your name wasn't the only one flagged. You're part of a list. Someone's compiling data on ex-operatives. Human and UAR. Whoever it is, they used Vorga as a delivery system." Duval sat back, frowning. Not the Krigari? He wasn't the type. No. He was the message. Duval rubbed his temple. "That's new. Who has the reach to puppet a Krigari executioner?" "I was hoping you could tell me." Silence hung. Then Duval exhaled. "There's someone. Code name, Prism. No faction allegiance. Sells data, hires assassins. Never confirmed human. They don't contact you, you contact them. Leave a message in the grid, and if they find you interesting, they reach back." Wraith studied him. Why would they be interested in you? I used to filter Terran ghost records. I know who's still alive and where the bodies really are. He gestured to the table. That's what I trade now. Secrets no one wants to exist. Wraith opened the case and removed a data module. This is everything from Vorga's implant. If Prism sees that, they'll come. Duval hesitated. You're using me as bait. Yes. And I'll be waiting. The former officer gave a dry laugh. I should be insulted. You should be afraid. I was. Long ago. Wraith turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. The UAR didn't track Vorga here. He was off-grid. That list you mentioned, it started inside Human Command. Someone's cleaning house. Duval nodded slowly, the weight of it settling in. Then we're already behind. Wraith disappeared into the corridor without another word. He didn't look back. There was no need. The trap was set. Now he waited for the real enemy to show their face. 3 days passed before the bait stirred the water. The message came encoded through a low-frequency band, an innocuous pulse that most devices ignored. But Duval's terminal cracked the encryption in seconds. The pattern was unmistakable, a Prism handshake. Wraith monitored from a sealed observation chamber 5 doors down, eyes fixed on a holofeed of Duval's room. The old officer sat cross-legged at his desk, fingers gliding through decrypted lines of code with surprising grace. When he looked up, his expression had shifted, no longer guarded, but grimly focused. They took it, Duval murmured through the MIC. They are calling for a meet. Docking Corridor G, maintenance level. No visuals. No IDs. They gave me 2 minutes. Wraith stood immediately, slinging his rifle across his back and locking the chamber behind him. The gravity in this section of the station was unstable, flickering half-weight due to power rationing, but his steps remained silent. He'd mapped the maintenance level twice already. Narrow, twisting passages. Few exits. Perfect place for a kill. He arrived first. The corridor was dim, with exposed wiring and rust-laced pipes humming quietly. He positioned himself above the doorway, magnetized boots anchoring him to the ceiling crossbeam. From this vantage, he could see both approaches. No motion. No heat signatures. A low beep in his earpiece signaled Duval's arrival. The ex-officer walked alone, hands visible, jacket open. He paused under the only flickering light. The silence that followed was unnatural. Then, the door at the far end hissed open. A figure stepped through, tall, androgynous, face hidden behind a reflective visor. The suit was seamless, a second skin of dark mesh and composite armor. No weapons visible, no insignia. Only the faint glow of a data conduit running along one sleeve. Duval spoke first. You got the file. The voice that replied was synthetic, layered with modulation. We did. You tagged a Terran assassin. Why? He tagged himself. You're not the only one collecting names. A pause. The visor tilted slightly. You want to trade? I want to survive. The figure nodded. Information for protection. The old bargain. Very well. Wraith's finger tensed against the trigger. Something wasn't right. This was too direct, too clean. Prism was known for obfuscation, never face-to-face. Yet here one stood, broadcasting vulnerability. Either it was a trap, or a decoy. Duval held out the data chip. This contains the original kill logs. Vorga's path, his uplink points, his handlers. The figure stepped closer. Wraith fired. The shot passed through the target, no blood, no recoil. The body shimmered and fractured into pixels. A projected hologram. Duval shouted and dove aside as 3 panels along the corridor burst open. 2 drones hovered forth, armed with low-resonance pulse weapons, while a third skittered along the ceiling toward Wraith's perch. He moved before it reached him, dropping in a controlled fall and unleashing 3 precise shots. The skitter drone exploded mid-air, while the pulse bots flickered and reeled, sensors disoriented by the impact shockwave. Wraith rolled and advanced, using the brief confusion to close the distance. Duval had taken cover behind a pipe cluster, shouting over the station's open comm. It's not just them, station systems are compromised. They're in the network. Lights across the corridor blinked rapidly, then died. Emergency backup flickered on in red. From the far end, heavy footsteps echoed. Someone new had entered. This one wasn't a drone. A woman stepped through, tall and composed, her rifle resting on one shoulder. Her eyes were visible behind polarized goggles, calm, sharp, calculating. She wore no armor, just a flight jacket and matte black combat gear. Her voice, when she spoke, was clear and unfiltered. "Mr. Wraith. Or do you prefer your old call sign, Cerberus?" Wraith lowered his rifle by a fraction. "Didn't expect a face." She smiled. "I'm a courtesy, not a threat. At least, not yet. Prism. Part of it. The rest is data, code, and patience." Duval stood slowly, confusion etched across his face. "You're human." "We're all human in some way. Even the ones who forgot." Wraith kept his weapon up. "Why target former operatives?" "Because the war never ended. Only the tactics changed. You ghosts, cleaners, saboteurs, spy masters, you're liabilities. Someone needs to curate history before the next generation inherits the wrong one. You're rewriting it. We're choosing which version survives." She took a step forward. Wraith fired again. She vanished, another projection. A crackle behind him was the only warning before a concussive charge knocked him off balance. A drone had flanked his position, launching a pulse bomb that destabilized his balance cores. He hit the deck hard, weapons skidding away. The woman's voice returned, this time from every speaker. "You're not wrong to fight. But you're late. This game began before you were born." Wraith crawled to his feet, blood in his mouth. Duval tossed him the backup pistol from his boot. "You're not dying here. We're not finished yet." Together, they moved, two relics of a buried war, now hunted by shadows in their own image. They didn't know how many more players Prism had. But they knew this: the myth of Ghost Eye wasn't about a sniper. It was about the fear of being seen when you thought you were safe. And now, someone was watching everyone.